am letting Goodreads control my TBR. They compiled a list on their website of readers' most anticipated books of 2025. I am reading their most anticipated books to see if they're actually worth the hype, or if Goodreads is lying to us. Book that is a new release that's highly anticipated by the world is a historical fiction book that came out January 7th, and that is Homesseeking by Carissa Chen. The now timeline. The now timeline is Los Angeles in 2008, and the then timeline is Shanghai in the 30s. I already started the book. I'm a good ways in now. So we have two main characters, Haiwen and Suchi, and they are so cute. You see them meeting when they're 7 years old. Haiwen has actually just moved to Shanghai, and Suchi is from Shanghai. This is in the middle of the war. There's a lot of turmoil, especially in their homeland. There is a lot of conflict with the Chinese and the Japanese and the Koreans, and there's a lot of fear that these people are feeling in Shanghai because Japan is currently fighting them, and they want to see the downfall, obviously, of Japan. Because they are being controlled by the Japanese government, they are living in fear, and it is really, really scary, especially for Suchi and her family. And a lot of Suchi's upbringing and home life, because it tells us so much about one of our main characters. In the now timeline, the book opens up with Haiwen and Suchi meeting at a market. Actually, for the first time in 60 years, they haven't seen each other. Haiwen sees their reunion as a second chance, but Suchi sees it as past that she's been trying to run away from and forget for so long, most of her life. They're starting to fill in the missing pieces for each other on what their life has been since they have left each other's side. Right now, I'm really enjoying the then timeline. I feel like whenever you get at the now timeline, usually it feels like one of them kind of lacks, usually like the present day one. I love this author's writing. I am so engaged. I immediately felt the heaviness of this war on these people, and especially, like, I think she does a great job at writing it from Suchi, who's 7 years old at the beginning of the book, from a kid's perspective. Like, she's trying to gain understanding on what is happening, and her father's telling her, but it's also funny because her mom has different beliefs about other things. And it's really cute how Haiwen and Suchi meet, because Suchi is so enraptured by him playing the violin. She hears him on the streets one day. The violin is a European instrument, so she is like, wow, this is luxury. Like, I've never been raised with this instrument and I've never heard it. She just thinks it's so beautiful. And it's really funny when she goes to her dad to tell him, I want to play violin. He's like, no, you're going to play the instrument of our culture, and violin's also very expensive. So he's like, no. But I think it's a really sweet lesson that he kind of ties it to the war, actually, and their current circumstances, and how it's really important to appreciate how you were raised and like your culture, but also to not get left behind when there are advancements. Anyway, he like ties it all in, and I thought it was really, really well done. So I am obsessed with this book. I see why it's so highly anticipated. I feel like it's her debut, but I really don't know. I think because of who this author is, her catalog, she's like the editor-in-chief of a magazine. So based on the description of the book, we know that in 1947, Haiwen leaves Suchi with just a note that says, forgive me, because he leaves to enlist in the war, I believe in place of his brother who was drafted. Yes, this is following these lovers throughout 60 years while dealing with tumultuous Chinese warfare and famine. Let's get started on our first highly anticipated read for 2025. Started chapter, it's February 1959, Keelung. I am loving this book, of course. It's so crazy because I was thinking about how this book is actually one that I got in one of my book of the month boxes last month. I was just thinking about how I wouldn't have known about this book, or it wouldn't have even been on my radar if it wasn't for book of the month, and lucky for me and you, they actually happen to be sponsoring today's video. If you don't know what book of the month is, it is a monthly subscription service that curates a list every single month of best books from new and emerging authors, but also authors that are very popular that we all know and love. Get all of these new releases earlier than everyone else. It's the month of love, so I got a romance book from an author that I know is very popular, but I've never read anything from her, and this is her new release called First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. And I know this one is a Sleepless in Seattle inspired romance, so I'm so excited to read this, and the cover is so cute. I was elated when I saw that this was an option for book of the month this month. The other one I got is actually a thriller, and it's called Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. This is a new author to me, which once again I love about book of the month, and this is one of those books when the main character's whole life has been built on a lie. And you don't have to worry about commitments because you can actually skip a month anytime that you want to. I think this is also a great idea for a Valentine's Day gift this year. I also have a great offer for you guys. For the month of February, you can get your first book for only $9.99 with the code CRUSH. Thank you so much, Book of the Month, for sponsoring today's video. I love you guys so much. It has been quite a bit since I last updated you. I am now almost done with Homesseeking by Carissa Chen. I don't even know how to begin talking about this book. One thing that I regret is that I haven't filmed my current thoughts with this book as I've been reading it, and I really wish that I did because it has been a roller coaster. I have a lot of thoughts on it, not exactly anything like intellectual or anything like that. I made it to page 446 last night, ends on page like 488. And so I am almost done, and I'm feeling really sad about that, to be honest, because this book has been incredible. Haiwen's a little bit more reserved, especially when they're children, and Suchi is just carefree. She really brings out a side of him that I feel like no one else can. I feel like this whole book has been me just like welling up with tears, and I feel so much despair for these characters because of all that they're going through. And I think it was a brilliant decision on the author's part to start this out when the characters are 7 years old, childlike and carefree, and then you see not only what adulthood has done, but the war. It's devastating. It is so devastating. They also make decisions that I hate. I don't want that to reflect my rating, but sometimes it's hard because some characters do things that I morally disagree with. I mean, they morally disagree with, I think, but okay, let's continue reading Homesseeking and finish this up. Here. Oh my gosh. Dude, I can't with this book. Oh my gosh. It's so beautiful and so good, but gasping for air here. It's time to sit up. This is getting so serious. I wish I could read this to you, but you'll just have to read the whole book to get to this because it's just so good. This book was so good. I've never read about Chinese history like this. I'm sorry, historical fiction just does it every time. Sorry about that. This was amazing. One of the things that I was like scared about when I decided to pick this up and read it, there's actually a little section at the beginning that says a note on languages. She's basically talking about how this book can be challenging when it is written in the English language, but it's Chinese history. There's so many different languages that are spoken within even like sometimes the same region in China. And it was saying the Chinese written language uses a representational versus phonetic system. The same written word has many different pronunciations depending on what language the speaker is using. It was saying, like, for example, given that my characters move within various Chinese speaking regions of the world, I wanted to make sure to denote their code switching in a way that would feel accurate. And I think it's so cool because Suchi's POV is moving forward in time and Highwind is moving backward in time, and that really is crucial to who they become as adults. One thing that really encouraged me starting this, because the author talks about how learning multiple languages sometimes is crucial, if not a necessity, for a lot of people depending on where they live. She was saying, you know, it might be frustrating or confusing trying to read this book, but just like with them, it's really good to challenge yourself. That helped me going into this book. I don't know, there's so much to it. I don't want to take away from what the author has said. I started reading her acknowledgements and started sobbing again, so I stopped and I'll pick it back up later. Oh gosh, I can't talk about it again. This book was very thought-provoking and it was a challenge for me, and I'm so glad and I'm so happy that I read it because I feel like I learned so much about a place geographically that I don't know all that much about. Beagle! This is literally perfect timing. Ian brought me a matcha. Matcha always cheers people up. I think I'm gonna have to go 5 stars. Another book that is highly anticipated by the world also came out this month. That is A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. I've never read anything from her, and this one is not that long. I was pretty surprised. The main character is a fraternal twin and her brother ends up getting killed in a tragic accident. So she ends up going back to their hometown to kind of get some answers. With that, she reconnects with an old friend that is not only an old friend of hers, but I think definitely of her brother's. Friend actually just so happens to be her first and only love, and he was with her brother before he died. The deeper she digs, the more she is compelled to unravel the truth behind the days leading up to Johnny's death. Ultimately, James, the main character, must decide which truths should come to light and which are better left buried forever. I'm very excited to read this one, so let's get started. I'm hoping this one will not make me sob, but that's okay if it does. Any of that. Let me start over. Thank you so much to 50,000 over here on YouTube. Are you kidding me? I cannot thank you for all the support and love. So we've got my 50K balloon tied to my little book cart. I do have an update for you guys on A Sea of Unspoken Things. It is now January 24th and I have been reading this book for quite a while. It's taken me longer than I ever expected to read it, but it is actually kind of a shorter book as well. I know that it's taking me a while to read this, but I am really getting into it now and I'm loving it. I am 201 pages in. I have like 75, 73 pages left of this book now. We're going to finish this today, and a little update as to how I'm feeling about this book. So this is my first book by Adrienne Young. I did not read The Unmaking of June Farrow, but I know that that's why this is such a highly anticipated book. And I kind of wanted to test this out, see how I like her writing. I don't know what I was expecting. I thought that this was gonna be literary fiction with some magical realism, maybe a subplot of romance. This is like a thriller. My gosh, I was not expecting that. There is magical realism still. There is mystery, there's thriller, there is a little bit of romance. It's so good. I love this book so much. It is definitely a slower start. Yesterday I read from page 117 to page 200, and as I was laying in bed I thought, wow, I could stay up tonight and actually just binge this book right now. It does not happen to me often, especially compromising sleep. That never happens to me. If it wasn't for this video, I think I would have stayed up all night and finished this, but I needed to report back to you guys, tell you how I'm feeling about it, and now we can finish it off together. Last night, my heart was pounding. I was on the edge of my seat, and I'm like, how is this not a thriller? It reads like a thriller, and I think depending on the ending will really tell me if it is or not. So let's go get cozy in bed, because today is a cozy Friday morning. I'm gonna lay in bed, and Ian and I are just gonna read this morning and drink our matchas. So let's go get cozy. This is a good book. Oh wow, my head, my hair. Oh my gosh, where's my book? I guess this review is just going to be in my bed. I finished A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. That last chapter I was not expecting, but it was really sweet and I thought it was really cute. I did kind of predict the ending a little bit, or like the big plot twist. For both of them, I don't know. I did really like how there was this chase and we were trying to figure out this subplot and then like the main plot, all of these mysteries with this town, and it's kind of this whole thing of like people just disappear in this town, in the forest. I really enjoyed it. I am curious to see if this is one of those books that sticks with me for a long time, because there have been books that I've rated highly before and I don't really reflect on it. I kind of just like move on, don't think about it anymore. And then some books where I rated too low and I actually loved them and I think about them all the time. Put Flopsy up there. It's somewhere between a 4.25 and a 4.5. Okay, now time for the next book that is highly anticipated. Sure, you can guess. It is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. This is now the third book in the Empyrean series. The first book was Fourth Wing. I got the first edition. And then Iron Flame, the second book. I was not planning on reading Onyx Storm actually, but because this is what I do, this is my channel, sometimes I gotta read books that I might not want to read. It might surprise me. I read Fourth Wing actually for the second book swap that Ian and I had ever done. Never made it to the internet. You guys never saw it. And I remember when I read it, I wasn't obsessed with it. There were a few reasons. First of all, this is a fantasy series. I think I need to say that, mention that. My biggest issue with the book was the main character, Violet Sorengale. With Violet, it was really hard for me to like her character. So I think at the end of the book, I tried switching to the audiobook and immersion reading. I hated the audiobook so much. I felt like Violet sounded very whiny. I really tried pinpointing what my issue was with the book specifically. So starting Iron Flame, I think I nailed it down. I think I am not a fan of Rebecca Yarros' prose. I know a lot of people love her writing. I don't think I love her narration. I just am not a fan of her writing in general, I don't think. Oh my gosh, I have a huge hole in my pants. I think that Fourth Wing is a really cool concept. I think it's a cool story. I think mainly it's just one of those things that comes down to preference of writing. I actually read Iron Flame in preparation for Onyx Storm. Tried reading this when it first came out, DNF'd it, and then I almost DNF'd it again. I really struggled getting through this one. But now that I've got these two read, it is time for Onyx Storm. So if you don't know what the first book, Fourth Wing, is about, I will briefly tell you. It follows Violet Sorengale, who is the daughter of the commanding general. So you're following Violet at this college. And this is a war college that is split up into different quadrants. So for Violet, she always wanted to be in the scribe quadrant. Well, her mother, who is the commanding general, all of a sudden is adamant about Violet becoming a dragon rider. And a dragon rider is something that you kind of prepare for most of your life. She is literally not built to be a dragon rider, like physically, but also she's not been prepped and prepared to be a dragon rider. She is like totally thrown off guard. This is not the plans that she had for her life, let alone this is like a fatal process to become a dragon rider. There's also this war that is going outside of their wards, and their wards are starting to falter. One thing that I loved about this book is there is a lot of plotting and scheming, and especially with other cliques within the Riders Quadrant, and so there's a lot that is going against our main character Violet, but there is also a budding romance in this that starts out as enemies to lovers. So with Onyx Storm, I'm very excited to read this, and hopefully it'll go smoothly. That's what I'm hoping. And just like every other book in this video, this is going to be completely spoiler free. So don't worry if you haven't read the rest of the series. I'm not going to spoil anything. Let's begin Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Guys are a little bit lower. There we go. There we go. Hi you guys, I have an update now on Onyx Storm. Okay, so I have a little bit of an update now. I am on page 74, chapter 9. I'm not even 100 pages in yet. I just remembered I have to do something today. I straightened my hair, by the way. Do you like it? I'm so conflicted with this series. Right now, there's enough intrigue. There's enough like action sequences throughout the beginning of it, which I felt as though Iron Flame was lacking. It was really difficult for me to get through that first part. I feel like the scope has gotten much bigger, and I think that's leaving a lot of readers a little bit confused. I was excited yesterday reading it, but today it feels like a task. Quite an unfortunate update. It actually makes me so sad to say this. I have been reading Onyx Storm for like 10 days. I am only halfway through. I am really struggling with this book right now. I'm moving at a snail's pace reading this book. I am not enjoying it at all. I hate that it's turning out just like Iron Flame for me. That's so disappointing. And honestly, I do not think I will continue the series after this. I've been trying to give it a chance like time and time again, and I think this is my last one, which stinks because these books are expensive. I don't know if I want to commit to another one. I think I'm going to move on after this. I want to DNF it. I have only DNF'd like a handful of books in my life, maybe like 2 or 3. And the fact that I DNF'd Iron Flame twice and I cannot get through Onyx Storm, I think I've kind of come to a conclusion that this is just not a prose I can really get into. No, I'm not exactly confused because if there's someone I don't know or a place I don't know, I just keep moving. That's what I do in most fantasy books, and that's how I enjoy them. But with this one, it's just too much. I don't know. I'm really struggling with it. So I wanted to end this video on like a huge banger. I'm going to continue reading it, but just to be transparent, I think I would DNF it right now if it wasn't for this video. That is like a huge shocker. I was not expecting that, but let's continue reading and hopefully it'll get better. Another update. So I have read 2 of Goodreads' most anticipated books for 2025, which a lot of them just so happened to be released in January. And I can say 2 of those were a complete success. And on the other hand, the third one, which is probably the most anticipated read, did not go so well for me. I am officially DNFing it. Life is too short to keep reading a book that you are just not enjoying. And there are parts of this book that I liked. I liked some of the action sequences. I thought that there's some fun comedy that Rebecca Yarros included. Now, on the other hand, I totally see why people love this book. There are so many books that I love that take a lot of attention to detail, especially with some of the magic. I think Scent, Iron Flame, and even in Fourth Wing, I just was not committed enough. And I definitely think that this is a book that requires enough attention. Let me know if you've already read Onyx Storm. This was such a fun experience and experiment because I am always curious to see how super hyped books hold up. And regardless if there was a DNF in the mix or not, I still had a really fun time. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if any of these 3 books are on your TBR for 2025. And once again, thank you so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video. That's something special for Valentine's Day this year, and definitely take advantage of their sale right now where your first book is only $9.99 with the code CRUSH. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!